Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Tyson and I'm one of the creators of Boomerang Flow. This is a new series that I'm going to do about creating automation with Boomerang Flow and run you through, really what it's about along the way. This is going to be a fun project. I'm setting time aside every week to create this content. It's going to be raw, not really edited, and you'll see all the mistakes as I make them and we'll learn through this together. I'm going to start with the basics. What is a workflow, setting up a trigger, parameters, and then we'll make our way through to the advanced things like approvals, waiting on an event, creating a custom task, and more. There's obviously a lot of areas to the open source project. We've got how to manage teams, quotas, settings, etc. as well. So we'll cover a bit of that. If you come to the useboomerang.io website, there's actually two projects in it currently. One is a CI/CD policy as code project, very cool and very, what people are doing now. But we're going to focus on the workflow automation tool that runs on top of Kubernetes. It's trying to offer a no-code experience. All of the technical integrations are done through the task. You should just be able to drag and drop them. There's plenty of solutions out there that offer workflow automation. A lot of them are, vendor specific, and there are a few open source, versions out there, but we're really focused on, don't write YAML, don't write code. And this is for end users. So in short, let's just dive into, what is Boomerang Flow? This is our documentation. We know it really helps users if there's quite a bit of documentation. So we've spent a bit of time on that. Boomerang Flow is a modern event-driven cloud-native workflow orchestration tool focused on the end user. So in short, we're trying to get all users to be able to automate and save time or increase their productivity by using a great, visual sort of tool to do that. There's a lot of information here about the paradigm, the features, but I wanted to give you an overview of the sort of use cases that you could do. You could do employee onboarding, a Git bot if you want to, maybe you manage your issues inside Git, report generation, incident management. There's all sorts of things that you could do for routing between ticket tools, on where that goes inside a line of business, or just automatically tagging them to a specific group, running a run book for operations teams. So they're some of the most basic use cases, but can be really powerful in saving time. So with that being said, let's dive into a version of Boomerang Flow. This is our new try instance. So this is a playground for anybody to come up and run a piece of workflow. It will be heavily quoted, so don't go using it as a bot farm. There's a couple of things as you land. So you automatically land on this workflow screen, and it's split into my workflows and team workflows. I'm not currently a member of a team, but if I was, I'd see the same sort of thing. I'd see my teams here and workflows underneath. My workflows is really just my playground, right? I can create and do whatever I want in this area. I just can't share them or collaborate on them, but it's a great place to do all sorts of things. I use this as a way to set up Slack reminders and messages that go to a team, organize my calendar, etc. So there's a whole bunch of ways you can use the personal workflows. If you're new, this is just a reminder to, you can go to our open Slack channels or learn the basics sort of documentation. You can hide that. There's an activity screen. It's quite powerful. It's where you're going to come to see all of the executions that have occurred and really dive into the detail, per task of what's happened. There's a little bit of insights. That's really a graph. And then there's two different areas, team parameters, team tasks, and team tokens. So parameters are these really, really powerful, useful, essentially referenceable pieces of information. So if I define a parameter, I can reference that multiple times in my workflow and it automatically gets replaced. Team tasks is a really advanced feature for bringing your own or creating your own tasks that you only want available to your team. And team tokens are API tokens. So if you want to use, this is an API driven product. If you want to use the external APIs, this is really quite helpful. And then all of the administration side that you won't necessarily see, as we go through, because you have to be an administrator and this is kind of a shared instance. But if you were to install it yourself, because it is open source, you can do what you want. You manage your teams, manage your users, global parameters, global tokens, quotas, settings. You can pretty much manage everything from these screens. So really powerful. You can see what sort of quotas are set here, which is really quite nice. And then you can create a workflow. So let's start from scratch. I want to call this test 1, really creative. And you can put whatever summary and description you want. And there's all these fun little icons. The rocket is probably my most used one. But there's plenty that really just help you kind of find what it is. If it's a messaging system, maybe the chat, sending an email for onboarding. If it's a bot, trying to manage my Git issues, that's quite useful. Or it could be just wiring things together, etc. So there's quite a few icons. So I'm just going to choose the rocket. When I create it, I land on this screen. There's a lot happening here, but simply there's a really, really good collection of tasks, and we're working on increasing them. If you've got any suggestions, obviously let us know in Slack, and we'll do our best to create them. This is the editor. You drag and drop them here. There's a notes widget here, so if you want to write some notes to yourself, or if you're creating a team workflow, maybe you want to leave some notes as to what you're doing to your team. You create versions. This is workflow specific parameters, so very, very similar to team parameters, but it comes in here. And then here's where you configure some more advanced options. There's different types of triggers, and we'll go into that, labels, etc. So it's got quite a bit to it, quite a bit of power. And with that, I think it ends today's introduction. I'm really, really looking forward to doing the whole series with you, running you through all the different possibilities and all the different extensions that you can do with Boomerang Flow. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.